You must be the artist they told me about.
Hello, welcome to another Behemoth art stream.
That's right. Today we're going to go over a few things because Castle Crashers Painter Boss Paradise is a DLC for Castle Crashers and it's coming out in 5 days.
5 days?
5 days. So, make sure you get your template and get your character ready because you can load up the DLC, test your character out. If they're good to go, you can publish them right in the workshop. And so I'm going to show you some tips that might help you in your journey. Okay? So one thing everybody's been asking me about, if you look at the template, let me grab the template right here. If you look at the template, you'll see there's the different heads. Okay, you draw the different head angles. And some people go, well, how do you draw different head angles? Well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to help you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to show you that right now.
All the head angles.
All right. So let's say, I don't even know what character I want to draw. Let's do something that combines two things to learn. All right, so let's say we're going to draw in a slightly upset fish man. Okay, so we have his features like this, and then we have his mouth and his fishy mouth, and then now here's where it gets important. We're going to think of a line where the middle of his forehead is and kind of come back like this, and then go like this. And actually what's kind of funny about this example I'm drawing, you actually have more space in the template than I do on this tracing paper. So you can actually go crazier. Alright, so let's say you get your features on there, and now it's time to rotate it. Well, so what we're going to be doing here, and I'm imagining this line while I tell you. Now, one thing I've been telling people is what you can do is take everything on this side and make it a little wider, just a little bit, and then everything down on this side, you can shrink it down. Okay? Just a little bit. But one thing it's not taking into consideration is where do the eyes end up going? Okay? So this eye is going to be moving forward a little bit, and this eye is going to be getting moved this way, right? We're rotating the head. Let's say we're rotating the head this way. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's see. How would I do this? I've never done, I do this digitally. So for something like this, we would draw the eye a little bit farther over. Okay. And then this eye is getting a little bit farther to the edge. Alright. And the mouth isn't going to go that far because it's just a big wide piece. So you do kind of want to shift the pieces a little bit if you're trying to be super accurate. Otherwise, just stick with that first trick I told you. But for the people who are trying to think of this in 3D, now what does this one do? Well, this one's being rotated along the cylinder, so it's actually going to be starting to go away. We're going to shorten these things here, and then now we have it receding. And this one, of course, is going to come out just a little farther. It's coming closer. I probably did that wrong. Okay, and then now, because remember where we had our dotted line? Now the center is between the eyes here still, so now we're like somewhere around here. So we're going to move this line up. And now we're going to follow our details. And then let's see, the heads, we're starting to see the back of the head, so now we can actually, if we're thinking about where these are planted in the head, I'd actually want to make it a little wider, because now we're seeing it from the side. And then so like, let's finish out the outlines, right? And, I don't know, maybe we're gonna put some scales along the bottom. Because he's like a fish, all right? And then for this one, let's finish this out. Okay. This is exactly the kind of thing you'll do, because you'll have that head shape and you can just build off it. The eyes for the knight are already in place, so you can put the eyes right over the eyes. So here we go. Now we've got two different head angles for our fish man.
Look at him.
And then you
That's
just
great.
keep following that rule, because there's one more where now he's looking to the side a little more. I smeared these, but you didn't see that happen. You know, we make mistakes all the time when we draw, and that's the biggest thing. You got to be brave. Just go for it. I'm drawing in pen. I can't undo this. Good. Practice like that. Challenge yourself. Try different things. Let me try. Let's see. Maybe you want to try something a little different when you're making a character, and you want to do like. You want to do a round-headed character. Of course you can. You can do that.
You're allowed.
Yeah. Anything goes as long as it's within the box. All right, so the box is pretty big. I guess this is fairly similar to what's in the template. But let's say you want to make a character that has a round head. I'm imagining the head is round. And let's say the eyes are somewhere around here. But I want to make, now we're going to make big eyes again, because I like to do that, but we're going to take it a little different this time. Now we're going to say it's like an animal. So we're going to bring the snout down like this, and then fill this out. Now we're kind of in the same spot as the eyes. We make an animal nose. That's how you make an animal nose, everyone. And then we want his head to be round, right? So let's see, we're going to bring this in. This is just a neck guideline right here. This is where the head is going to connect to the body. So there's a bunch of different ways you can think of this, as long as you're thinking that this is where it connects to the top of the body, okay? And then so we come around, we give him some hair, and still keep thinking about this as round, because we're going like this, right? So something like that. And now we have the cousin of the pooping deer. We come around like this, right? And maybe they're all stressed in the family because they're propelling themselves with their poop. So we're gonna give them some stressed teeth, okay? And then some sort of stressed eyes. And then when we take the paper away, because we're going to be drawing over this stuff, it won't be there anymore. Now you have a character that has more of a round head. And I could have pushed it even more. I probably should have pushed it even more. And then, yeah, there we go. Now we have a stressed deer person, okay? So you don't have to stick to the cylinder. You can have anything. You can have wide heads. You can have tiny heads. Just make sure that this space right here at the neck is covered, because otherwise things might look a little weird. And you might say, well, I didn't want to have the scales on this guy. Well, that's okay. There's other ways to have a natural thing. Like, oh, look, he's in a suit now. You did it. Okay? Just,
Fancy
find
fish.
a natural thing, like a collar if it's a cat, or, like a cat collar. Not a human collar like this one. Okay. So anyway, that's some stuff on like how do I work around this shape? There you go. I heard people asking about that. Okay. Now, one of the popular requests that might not be as applicable unless you're doing the beefy arms is, how do you draw hands? People asked that a lot.
I want to know how to draw hands. I don't know.
Hands are not easy, okay? Hands plague every artist. I still make mistakes, and I'm going to make mistakes today, because you know what? I'm not afraid to make mistakes, and we're going to get comfortable with that idea, okay? We're not afraid to make mistakes.
We're comfortable in Sharpie.
So if you look at my hand, think of this as a square, okay? This is a square, right? And each one of my joints is perfectly spaced, okay? So they're all the same spaces. So if we draw a hand, okay? I'm going to draw it like it's the left hand. But I do something like this. And it's like, what are we looking at here? Well,
Chat is very divided. Either hands are easy or hands are very hard.
oh.
There is no in between.
For the people who it's easy for, you are lucky. Okay, some people have a really hard time thinking of this. And it's like, okay, now we have our shapes, right? And I saw a tutorial yesterday. I wish I could remember exactly who it was. But they were thinking of the fingers like this. This is how they drew it on their tutorial. And I was like, huh? And then they started to draw different angles of the hands. So let's say that we have a hand like this. Okay, and we're gonna bring the fingers out. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then do waves on the bottom. And then we have that shape here, right? We got that half thing. Now 1, 2, 1, 2. We have a hand, right? And then you fill out the wrist. What?
Wow.
Let's do it again. Let's do another kind of thing here. You have your box. I'm going to say this is the wrist, and here's the hand here. So let's see. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. I'm doing 3 fingers. We have more than that. So
Sometimes.
you have to adjust on how you want to do this, but and then we have this thing, right? This is where the thumb goes. We always use that kind of guide. And then 1, 2. We have a hand.
Dang.
There you go, everybody. Now you can wave your hand. I hope some people are drawing along with me and doing this, okay?
I saw a few people in YouTube chat.
Yeah? Let's see what they have to say. You make it look easy. Well, you gotta practice, okay? Just practice. That's how you get there. I practice a lot. Another thing people were asking about, like I always tell people to think in shapes, right? Like all this stuff we've been building off the shapes, okay? So if you're thinking in shapes and it's time to draw something like you want to pose a body, think of this as like the rib cage, and this is the waist, right? And then you can fill in the rest, and then you have a body. Here's like the collarbone, the shoulders, right? And then all of a sudden you have a body and you can pose it. So if you draw like one shape and then the other and you connect them together. So let's say for our fish man, let's use this as an example. Let's say, here, I have another one of these. I do. All right, we want fish man to have a body, right? Now what you could do is think he's gonna be like, he's a former football player. So we're gonna think of his body as like more something like this shape, right? It tapers down. And then we have the waist, right? These are just 2 simple shapes that work off each other, and then we fill the details in after. So don't go and try and do the details first. Some people try to do all the outlines. No. Just try to do the shapes and then figure it out from there, right? So, you know, Fishman, I don't even know what kind of suit he'd be wearing. Maybe like a wetsuit, but that doesn't really work in this example of what I'm trying to do. But, you know, if let's say for whatever reason you did want him wearing something that was fuzzy, then now you can go over that with all the hair. And now you have, or let's say, oh, I wanted those to be scales. What are you doing? He wouldn't have hair. He's a fish, right? Then you could do that, whatever shape you want to follow through on. You did it. And all you had to do was just think of it as a base shape. So you can do all kinds of things. There's actually something that I think is fun for anybody who knows toddlers or likes to do this thing that toddlers do, where you've all seen it. They do this kind of thing, right? This is my favorite magic trick ever when a toddler does this. Why? Because now I can make something out of this, right? We just have to find the lines that make sense to us. And so you kind of need to look for, like, what are some shapes that I can make work here? And I don't actually know. I actually did it almost too rounded. But let's say, oh man, it's easier when a toddler does it.
It's too abstract.
Let me add another. They do this too. They do this. All right. Yeah. Maybe when I'm trying to do this on the spot, it's harder. But let's say, gosh, hang on, guys. Let me think about. Okay, I see one. I see one that's like this, right? And then there's this other line that comes out here. So if I follow this line and play off of it, right? Oh, look at that. Boom. This one came out too. So now we have like a tongue. We have the mouth. And the eyes. Didn't know what to draw? Well, you just drew a snake. Okay? So you can do this kind of thing, and it just kind of shows the power of shapes. You want to make a toddler's mind explode, you just have to grab their scribble drawing and make something come out of it. Right?
Make
So,
minds explode.
For those of you who aren't sure what to draw, how to draw, and you want to practice shapes, you don't know what shapes to put down, it's okay. Just do this and then find them inside. This one's a little more crazy, but it's a fun experiment on how to do that. Okay. Now another thing we covered before that I do think that people enjoyed and is a good thing to look at would be where to put features, right? So before, I guess I'll just draw another one. So if this is our character head on our template, where's my, aha! And you know, last time I drew a koala and then I saw this, and oh my god.
Oh my god.
What have I done? But you know what? That's the thing. You've gotta make mistakes, guys. And make it your world. In my world that time, koalas had their noses rotated 90 degrees. And I liked that world I was living in. Alright, so we've got another character head here. And before, I was just putting the eyes right in the center. But let's say, let's just take this guy. Okay, and we're going to play with his features. Now he has slightly smaller eyes. Okay, and maybe he has different pupils. Alright, and maybe we leave his mouth in the same place. Well, now he's having a completely different vibe, isn't he? And then maybe he has like a shorter mohawk. Now we got like a completely different guy using the same elements, right? Or let's say, oh, I got a good one, guys. I have to reference this on my phone very quickly just to make sure I don't make any mistakes. This is going to be a good example on features.
Not bugs, features.
That's right. That's right. It's not a bug. All right. So for some of you, you might know what Where the Wild Things Are is. It's a children's book. Okay?
The best.
Now, hopefully you can see that. That is Where the Wild Things Are. Okay? And if you look at Where the Wild Things Are, And I already know what some of you are going to be thinking what this looks like. But basically, we have this guy right here. He has his features up here. He has the nose. He's got like the thing coming out, and then he has this big smile with a bunch of teeth, right? And I just can't help but think about my 24 karat Labubu. You see this thing right here? So now it has the same features in a different spot. Now we have this with slightly bigger teeth. Okay? The nose is still high. The eyes are here. Right? Now we have a Labubu. Now, I know these are polarizing. And the good thing is, in life, I'm completely neutral. I don't even take a side on these. So yeah, now you have two features that are almost the same, but a totally different vibe, right? Just like how we had, this is our Lafufu of our little swamp guy right here, or fish guy, I should say. So you can play with the features. Let's do another thing right here. So if you have the same shape over and over again, right? All right. So you could have the eyes here. You could have the eyes here. You could have the eyes here. And of course you can have them in other spots too. And then you could have the mouth. Let's say we keep the mouth relative. Now you've got this. But what if we didn't keep the mouth relative? What if we then started trying different eye positions with different mouth positions? Now you have, this is giving me a totally different emotion than this. Like this one's like an inquisitive kind of, you know, not judgmental. This one's kind of like over it. Why aren't my friends going to my ping? I just pinged there on the map and they're not going, right? That's what that one's giving me. So there it is. You can always take something and change it. Now let's say now you're like, well, I kind of like this, but I don't know about the eyes. Well, you can make them a million different ways, right? You can make them triangular, right? You can make them like stars. You can make them really shiny. You can make them
Anime eyes.
Yeah, you can make them anime eyes. You can give them long lashes, and now this character is like on the runway. Before they were judging people because of the pings. They got over it, and then they became a runway model. And there they are.
Nobody ignores their pings now.
Yeah. So with this kind of thing, when you play with the features, you move them around. That is super fun to do, and as you saw with these examples, you can get so much out of it by just playing around. You don't have to just rethink everything. Nah, just take the same thing, remix it a little bit for fun, and you'll learn a lot that way. You'll learn, like, what do I like? What style do I want to do that in, right? Because if you always draw your characters like this, people might start to attribute a style to what you're doing. Or if you always draw your characters like this, people will be like, I know that work. I know that really long chin or neck or whatever it is, right? And so when we have our template here, we're gonna be thinking of our character as a finished version of whatever's here. So when you're drawing the head, when you're drawing the body, maybe, you know, take a second and put them together off to the side in your drawing program or your sketch pad, and then be like, oh, this is how they're going to click together. Maybe sketch the character final first. However, whatever order you want to do that in, that's a good way to do it.
We have a quick chat question.
Yes.
They say, serious question. Can you cut, drag, and paste JPEG images into the template? Like, can I input my actual head as a character?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, and you know what you could do? You could say, this is a fan-made awesome Hattie. You could take a picture of this, turn it a little, take a picture, turn it a little, take a picture, and boom, you have the head angles for your character. You just have to, get rid of the background. So make sure you take a picture on a solid background, then you lasso it out or whatever if you have any program that can do that.
You can even
So
do it with your dog.
yeah, it's a PNG, so you can take claymation or your pet or whatever, and put the parts in there. Absolutely. You can also have your weapon. So when you draw the weapon, it's gonna the point. We have like a weapon that's kind of like, I think it's the pencil actually. I don't remember. Yeah, I think it's the pencil in the template, but right at the base of it is here. It's going to be coming out this way, right? At the base of the weapon, that's where it starts. Now, some of you diehards or very observant people saw that some of the weapons that we'd have would have this extra part, and that was to indicate that the hand was gripping the hilt, or not the whatever, the handle. And then we have that right over top. It's supposed to indicate the fingers. So if you want to do that, go for it. And then there's other ways to do it too, or maybe you want to do like that fancy kind right there that's connected. So you can make whatever you want to do there. How does the weapon work in the DLC? Well, the way the weapon works is you draw your custom weapon, and then you can turn it on and off in the weapon frog. That's it. And then, so whatever weapon you're holding, it uses the stats of. It's just like a visual overlay of whatever it is there. I did see somebody asked on how do you draw the raccoon monster.
I love that.
I did draw him before. I guess basically, I like, so there's a couple ways to approach when you're drawing a character. I like to sort of do the approach of, with crazy creatures that have this big mouth and eyes, I start with them. And one of the things I was telling you about before on where do you start the mouth, where do you end the mouth, he's a great example because his mouth is actually right here. This is where the top of the mouth line is. Boom. Okay? So now we have the start of our raccoon beast. And then the teeth come down here. This was something that you might have seen in Castle Crasher's River. There is also an enemy that kind of has their mouth line intersecting with their eyes. Okay. And then I like to finish out the mouth because really the body's just a clump of hair and you can pose it around, but the face is going to be what sells whether or not it's working, right? So come in here, do a little bit of the cheek, follow the back. So this is kind of like the gist of it, and then of course then now you can go a little crazy and you can get this big line out of there. But this is really what you can't make a mistake on. And so one thing I was showing people last time, I do want to show a couple examples of today, is I want to have his arms like kind of forward, like he's about to like lunge, right? So I'm going to think of the hands first, and the hands are fuzzy too, so I just kind of draw them like that. And then you can fill in the rest of the arm. Okay, so, and then again, I'll just draw the hand here, and thankfully there's not much arm in view. I don't have to worry about that. So I always draw the hands instead of the arms in most cases. If it's a really weird kind of character design, then yeah, I'll draw it another way. There's also something that a lot of artists will tell you to do, which I think is a good idea, which is to think about contour lines. And this guy actually sort of has some built into his body. So, for instance, now we have this big ball that kind of comes out. And this is his tail, right? And then this is basically a contour line. I'm thinking of as the tail as all these lines that come out. And so now I've done these two contour lines on there, and all of a sudden it sells this this shape. So what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4 lines for the whole tail. So I like to keep things simple. I like simple stuff. And so there he is. There's the spit. This was another trick I did with that was my toddler, summoning my toddler power of scribbling a little bit and then turning it into spit.
It just looked effortless. I was about to say, wow, that looked like easy, and it's just toddler power.
Same thing for like if you want to do like, let's do some effects really quick. Let's say that, you know, this is one I like to draw a lot. People will see this one. This will be like, this is a knight, right? And let's say that the knight is spraying fire. So I'll just follow the outside of the fire line and just get comfortable with, you know, screwing it up. So let's say, oh, this is so uniform, I don't know about that. We could have thought of it as like it's pushing forward through the center. Like if I was to redo this, I kind of want it to push more through the center. So I'm going to be thinking about that while I do this. And now like the fire, instead of like evenly spread, is more like this. And of course this is more of like a sketch, but I'd want to go back and figure out like, well, I don't like this line right here. It needs to be, everything needs to be a curve. I don't like these hard edges. But that's kind of how I'll follow through on like, you just do an outside like that, and then all of a sudden you can worry about the smoke that's underneath, right? Now we have smoke coming through. Right. There's our smoke. And actually, for shading, some people might be wondering, well, how do I shade smoke? And it's the same answer that we've been looking at earlier, which is to think of it all as shapes. So I'm thinking of this as a ball, and I'm thinking about where the light might be touching. And then it's really just up to you on how you want to shade that. So maybe we're thinking about the light coming down from here, and we kind of get, it's 3 spheres, right, that are kind of being hit by the light. This, to me, I like that way of shading it. That looks better. I wasn't even thinking about it here. I was just thinking about filling this in gray. So don't pay attention to that part. And boom. Now, and you know what? I didn't like how that one turned out. So we just add a little more gray. And now that looks a little more shapely. It looks better. You know, that kind of thing. Same thing with like this guy. One of the key things that people are like, wait, why didn't you? Yeah, there it is. It's right there. Don't worry about it. It was all part of the plan. One thing to strengthen your lines that I like to do when I'm drawing in pen, I like to do things like this, where you're doing like an exercise on controlled stopping and trying to keep it fairly uniform. There you go. I didn't like that part, but whatever. Most of it I'm happy with. One thing that I like to do in digital art that I don't really get to do here, unless I use very specific pens, is varying my line thickness. So if you want something to pop more, you could have had like a thicker line. I like to put thicker lines around the outside of the character to sort of push their silhouette, and then maybe keep some of the details thinner lines. That way our eye is able to process what we're looking at a little better. And we can even pull some contour tricks, like this is just like a couple rectangles here. Why don't we push it a little bit and think of these as having a little more shape to them. Now the horn looks a lot better than it did a second ago. Just a couple little indications on where that comes together. Alright, just the little details that you fill in after you have your shapes down. You know, you could draw something like this and make it hyper realistic on its rendering later. or just, tons of line art.
Someone asked, what do you use to draw with? I don't know if they meant pens or
Oh.
software or.
So, yeah, I rarely draw on paper anymore, to be honest with you.
Except for now when we made you.
Yeah. Yeah, for the stream, we're doing it traditionally because traditional is fun. Obviously, that's where I started out at. I personally, for pens, I really like this brand, Statler. It's hard to. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. It's Staedtler. That's Staedtler. Statler. I really like these because they have different thicknesses that you can get. So if you, this one is what I should have been using. This one's thicker, right? And then, like, as you go down the line, they get pretty thin. Eventually, the camera won't even be able to pick up these other ones because they get so tiny. They're like little hairs at the end. And, what's really cool about the packaging is where you have this thing, you open it up, go like that. Now you have your pens at the ready.
Oh, that's neat.
I really like this brand. I've been using them a lot for sketching. And they will keep you on your toes if you're drawing in pen. Absolutely. Because there's no going back. Which one did I just grab?
Do you draw with a mouse or a drawing tablet?
Now for digital drawing, I use a Wacom tablet. It doesn't really matter what brand, as long as it has pressure sensitivity and enough. What is it? I want to say DPI, but
Something like that.
yeah. But Wacom's a pretty reliable brand, although the one I'm using, they have Cintiqs where you draw right under the screen. I don't actually like drawing right under the screen because it's like I'm drawing on the paper, but there's like this gap before the line is put down, and I feel like I'm drawing like with my hand like too far away from the page. Technology is getting better, and they're getting closer and closer to actually feeling like you're touching the page, but I don't like that. So I actually just have one where I can't see. I'm drawing here and looking up there, and one of the advantages of learning that way is your hand never gets in the way, and you can always see the layout of what you're doing. And I really like that. So when I'm drawing here, I'm like, ugh, get this hand out of the way. I can't see. It's kind of funny how, drawing digitally for so long, and smearing ink all over the place. My hands already, you smear, and it's fun though. It's playful. Art is fun and playful. Think of it that way. Always think of it that way.
It's whimsical. You're making things.
Yeah. So, for some of these things I see, my rule was let's go on the outside mostly, but like I'm seeing that I want this line to stick out more, so just do it. Yeah, just,
Just outline it.
Yeah. Try bold stuff. Like if you screw it up, so what? You learn something, because really you want to make a lot of mistakes and learn from yourself. You're going to be your best teacher. Okay. Let's see, what else do I have? Why so different? Not sure what that's in reference to. But different is
Why so
great.
serious? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
A few people are asking for animal orbs, but
Animal
you can look at our
orbs.
beautiful animal orb wooden sculptures on our desk.
Yes.
We have our golden whale this week as well.
Let's draw. I want to draw I always like drawing my guy, Winston, here, because he has fun shapes, and he can be an animal art. He's a French Bulldog. You guys might recognize this shape. And then there's basically like one more shape kind of that they have. They have like this sort of flat-ish thing down here, and I'll draw his eyes smaller. I usually draw his eyes enormous. Let's try him smaller this time. And then it's like a W, right? So come down here from either the center, whichever one makes you more comfortable. And then you get like this W. And he always has his tongue sticking out. So we're going to do this right here. So for anybody who's ever wanted to draw a French Bulldog, there's an easier way to think of it if you think of it in shapes. And of course, because we're an animal orb, there's not going to be a body really involved here. It's just going to be the hands. He has these big paws.
First time chatter says, "Hi Dan, you're my goat."
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for joining the stream.
I hope you make something in the workshop that I can play as. I'm going to be doing that. Frenchies have these little back legs, so I'm going to give him one little back leg that's showing and this little nub. Something like that. The ear's wrong. The ear's wrong. I was thinking like rabbit ears or something. But whatever. This is the right line. That's the wrong line. Did that to show you. Did it totally on purpose. And he's got these little teeth right there. Done. One of the kind of funny things that people might not think about is for the princesses. You remember how earlier we had the rib cage, the hips, right? Now for most people they would then have the legs. I basically just stopped there. So we have like the body and then the dress. Done. Like that's the princess. So if you know how to draw the like top of the character and you know how to draw bodies, just stop at the waist and then you have your character. So that's like there's some tricks like that, right? Like when you're drawing stuff, just think about like, well, what if I just stopped there? What would that be like? What if I gave them like way longer arms? Or what if I gave them a much tinier head? You know, those are the kinds of things you want to be playing with, like what we were doing earlier with the with this thing, with 2.0 guy who uses the same features.
Zumbi said that was Herbert in fish form.
Oh man, Herbert has been redrawn so many ways now by us that when it's time to draw Herbert, I almost can't remember the original. So like, the original Herbert, of course, was drawn by Tom, and at that time I don't think he had a name.
Tom?
Yeah, Tom Fulp. He
No.
drew.
He didn't have a name?
Oh, Tom had a name. I see what you're doing. So, I'm trying to remember, like, he had the eyes. He always does this. And then he had... No, that's wrong. I already know that's wrong. He had the nose. He had the nose.
The OG one had
Then
the nose.
he had the mouth. Yeah. Then he had the mouth, and then he had, like, this thing, and then he had, like, these human arms on the demon body. Although I can't remember how he did I think he just did the hands kind of like that. And then the legs were so awkward to me because they were like this, and then they grew and shrank like as he was walking. And then of course, like now, like when we draw her, we're drawing him kind of more, I don't know, more to spec of what like a lot of the other stuff is. And you saw like earlier I did an eye where I kind of like did a straight line. Well, now like what if we did a circular one, right? And then like when you're filling the eye in, maybe you leave a little bit around the edge there.
People are asking for Princess Herbert.
Oh, Princess Herbert.
Princess Herbert's in the short.
Oh my
You can
God.
go watch that.
I did draw that Princess Herbert in there, but
We
That
needed
was-
a Princess Herbert, and Dan delivered.
yeah, that was tough. Because I never really thought of Herbert princess flavor, but you know that's how it is. That's one of the great things about this DLC is I've already seen so many things that people have drawn and shown. Make sure you don't show your whole template, everybody,
That's your secret
unless
key.
you want to, but just know that somebody can upload it as their own if you do that. So just show parts of your template when you make one.
People asking for a crab industrial prints. What about a crab industrial prints? Make that and
Crab
put that in the workshop.
industrial prints. Oh, you know what? I saw one from someone that I saw last time and didn't get to, which was the Frost King. So Frost King's kind of fun because when I'm drawing him, I think of him like it's like a tube, and then somewhere in there it breaks. So then you have like this. All of a sudden you have like something like this, and then that's his mouth and head, and then you just kind of like put on his crown. Like that's kind of how I think of him. Let me check really quick. I don't want to get this wrong. It has been 7,000 years since I've drawn him. And just like Herbert, it can be like this weird fever dream when you think back on it. So yeah, he has, okay, I was right that his eyes are by his top line of his mouth. And then he kind of has that kind of thing. I really liked his other expression too, which breaks his own rules. When he's doing one of his casts, he has like a oval mouth, and he goes whoo or whatever, and then he does the ice coming down. And the
I like
pose,
that.
the
It's like-
pose is so weird because I tried to like match what Tom was wanting. Like every once in a while, Tom would get like this idea, and I want it to be like this, and he would draw something, and I'd try to get close to what he's looking for. It didn't always work out. Just like actually, the painter boss didn't work out.
Oh,
Painter boss was like this weird bandaged
nightmare
nightmare
fuel.
thing. Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, I think that speed drawing is still up on our YouTube channel. It yeah.
Yeah, you can see how I really tried, and I was like, I just don't like how this design's turning out. And then I tried my own thing with it. And so I think it came out good. I'm happy with how it came out with Painter, because Painter's always been this really weird enigma, huh? Where it's kind of like, what is that thing? It has overalls. It has a lunchbox head. You know, it's like, what am I looking at here?
I always felt guilty attacking him.
This is I'm using a trick here where, yeah, I felt even worse attacking the Frost King. I think, well, they're kind of equal, because Painter Boss just yells for help.
You're coming up on the.
Well, am I on the
Yeah.
edge? Sorry
Don't
about that.
push me.
Painter Boss just yells for help and stuff, and Frost King, of course, has that other horrible moment that, like, to animate that was like awful for me. So here's a trick that I just realized I was using. So let's say, like, let's say we want to do something where, like, I was drawing the Painter Boss or Paint Junior, whichever one you want to think. I was thinking of the top of the head, and the top of the head has like this shape like this. I was like, how am I supposed to think of this in 3D, man? Like, this is hard. So I was kind of thinking about like where the hinge is on the head, and then thinking of these lines right here, this one and that one, as being over here. And I'm trying to think like, well, where, like somewhere like here, right? And then we copy it again because now it's too late. We already put it down. And then you're gonna connect these points. Right, and now we have something that's 3D, and I messed that up. But the good news is now it's extra 3D. It has another lip. So even our mistake, we rolled into it. Now this one's also a mistake because they probably should have done this. But if we want to stylize it, it's okay. Now he looks kind of like he's like, what? What'd you say to me? If you ever want to say that in Malay, it's apa bercakap. No, bercakap apa. Sorry. There you go. What'd you say? Bercakap apa? There you go. Of course, you can always say it in a nice way too, like bercakap apa, which is also a good way. So let's say that we take this idea of where it was like, okay, we're gonna take that shape, put it over here, and then connect it. How about we do it? I'm pushing things off the table. Yeah, we're getting messy. This is true art now, right? Let's say we want some kind of cloth or something, and we go like this, right? Like instead of trying to think of cloth as all this complicated stuff. My screen went off there. Chat. There you go. Thank you. Now, like if you just draw from the tops of these lines, and like, wait, I missed that. Let's look at the bottom of the lines. Let's say all the cloth is being pulled from here, right? Just from the bottom of the lines. We now have either a flag or a drape or whatever you want to think of. And then maybe we can follow the shape farther. Or now it's like the Battle Block Theater curtain or something, right? So if you want to do like, let's say, oh, well, what do you mean? Like, how do I do a flag? Start like this. Do that trick I did here, mostly, because this fold is a trick. But here we have this line and then a little bit lower of a line, right? And then now you have like a flag, right? So what you do is you just kind of draw that one contour line and then follow it through. Somebody wanted Groom and Cyclops. Okay.
Hanging out together. How do you sleep? Like with your eyes open, closed?
I do not.
Yeah, no need.
Sleep is very necessary though, so make sure you have some. Okay, so for Cyclops, I'm always thinking in those shapes, and for Castle, this is basically a base shape from many characters in the game. And then it's all about the features that define whether or not they're a good guy or a bad guy. And then I think there's, let me check this. I don't want to. There's always like something to the headline. I think there's a vertical one. Yeah, there is. Okay, got it. So there's a couple lines. This one was throwing me. I was like, isn't there something on the side there? He's got that line there. And then he has his frills or whatever you want to, I don't even know I don't know what the technical term for this is. And then I always like to just go draw this part first and then take the shoulders out. You can take him out really far because he's kind of a big beefy guy. And then remember that shape we did earlier where we kind of just came down inward, and then you had the cutoff, and then you have the waist. Of course, for the Cyclops, I kind of just kept going here. If I remember correctly, I think he has like 7,000 abs. Right? And then With that, you want him to look tanky. If you ever want a character to look really reinforced, just think of like things you see in real life, like rivets on a tank, right? You want to like maybe make it 3D, indicate them on the edge as they're going around, because we're thinking of it like contour, right? And then his arms come kind of like outward. They're almost like these weird clubs. And then there's like the stitch line, right? Now for the groom, it's kind of like, I think of like this kind of like dome shape on top, and then something like that. These guys have like an incredibly simple head, so it's kind of, I'm always like, oh, wait a second. I feel like there's something else again that I'm forgetting, a really simple indication. Pretty sure I did it with color though. Yeah, it's mostly with color. And then of course there's like these little holes along the bottom. But just like we dressed up this guy, we're gonna dress him up, right? Same thing, just boom. Then you have like that whole thing. And remember what I said, and I broke the rule down here because he has such weird arms. But basically I said draw the hands first. So remember like when we were talking about drawing hands and we did like this whole thing. This, like, let's say this is his hand, and now we're thinking of it like he's holding on to something. And let's say he's holding on to like a fish because they were fishing. Right. Well, now I can think about like, well, the forearms here, the elbows here, the arms here. I didn't have to draw all this, and usually what you end up with is something stiff if you try to draw from here out and then make this all work. Instead, I thought about, well, what's forward and where's his hand, and then filled backwards from there, and that usually helps. Of course, we have the, how am I gonna think of this?
It could be a catfish. Their eyes are on the. Oh yeah.
There. It was kind of hard to wrap my brain around without turning. A lot of the time I turn the paper, but in this layout, I'm not really gonna do that. And then we have our tuxedo or whatever we indicate. Boop boop. We kind of have something like that. So, you know, there's lots of ways to play around with your lines. And then there was like, you know, I like to draw things with teeth. I like to draw things with, you know, like monster mouths and stuff like that. I remember we did dinosaurs at one point. Same thing, like, let's say that we think of like a dinosaur as like, there's this big hinge. It's almost like a whistle, where you have like the whistle edge and then the whistle comes down like this, and then you have the other part here. And this is like kind of like the muscle of the jaw. And then you have the eye. You have like your eye here. And then you draw out this. But remember we were talking about the way that teeth go. Can I do that trick here? I think I can. So I'm thinking about this as like, that's his mouth line. And so what I do is I stay really close to it, and I do like these waves like this, right? Because then when I go across, now we have gums, the indication of gums without all that extra work, right? And now we have teeth. And I guess, I mean, I could just like kind of like do this kind of thing. And for some people, they like to indicate teeth without any lines like that. And then let's follow it down. And then you can just, if you do want to connect things, you can connect them like this, right?
Powerful.
You probably want to be a little more careful on counting, because right here we have like a problem. But it still works pretty well. So you can get some teeth going really quickly like that. So as long as you're thinking of things in shapes and you're trying stuff like that. And then like, let's say, why don't you challenge yourself and say, I want like to draw like a cute version or whatever, right? So now you take like this thing and you're like, I want it to be cute. So then you could just, well, what makes something cute? Well, more round things make things cute, right? So like, you could just, and maybe you still want him to have the angry eyes. Let's say I still want him to have angry eyes and still try to make him cute, you know, and maybe like we still keep that ball there. And then maybe instead of, we still do the gum thing, but then we do like rounded teeth. And then you have something that's, you know, again, you're using like very similar features. And then we made this snout short. But you can, you know, take something that you made and then remix it, because you never know, you know, maybe you end up liking this thing a lot more, or you do this and you go, I don't like this because XYZ. Then you'll start to get this bag of tricks. You get this drawing bag of tricks that you can now learn from. So for anybody who's just tuning in, just as a reminder, Painter Boss Paradise is coming out on the 6th. I'm going to try to get some kind of diagram on exactly what time, because the second it's live, the workshop's live, you can publish your own characters using our super techniques we learned today on how to rotate the head. That's head angle 1, that's head angle 2. You can rotate the head. And then we also have, you know, there was one where, here, let me get another piece of tracing paper here. And I don't know how many people are new right now to the stream, but we did go over hands, which is very often requested.
Yes.
And I think, let me see, where's my hands sheet that I can show you while I get this ready. When we were doing hands like this, we got the square, and then the segments are the same length. It's just that they get a little bit wider towards the hand and a little bit thinner away from the hand. So you'll think of it like a box, right? Like that. And then we went like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then taper it out a little bit. Like waves. We're thinking those like waves. Go like that.
This is why Dan has marker prints on the back of his hand. He was using his hand as an example.
This is me, but with one less finger. So there you go. We were doing things in shapes. We did a toddler scribble, and then we found a shape inside of it. This is a really fun way in case you don't know what you want to draw. And another fun way to do things is to build, you know how we were building off shapes, right? So like before, we were working off the cylinder head like this, and well, now let's try building off like another shape, right? Like I said, when you're doing your template like this, you can have, as long as this part's covered, because you're gonna have the body like that, right? As long as this part's covered, you're good. So you could have a character that has a head that's like this, right? Like you can have that. There you go. It's a rabbit.
He's adorable.
So you can have something like that as long as the neck is connected. The other trick here that we didn't cover on this stream, but we have before in the past, is that you could have no head. Let me grab this. Does that show? Yeah. So like we have all these heads along the top, right? You could just have nothing there and then put the head into the body. So, well, why would you want to just have the head baked into the body? Well, it might be that you don't want the character's head to bob around. So like in the case that you have like the giraffe or whatever this thing is, right? You would bake it into the body art. And now this whole thing will stay still as one. You won't get the cool head rotations, but you know, like it gives you a lot of things that you can do with it,
The
like ladder
Moyai.
lad.
Oh yeah, and ladder lad, but the Moyai head I think also is like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so one thing to also keep in mind is that this head is going to be used when they go beefy. So if you want the head to change when they go beefy, well, you're going to have to bake the head into the body, because then here you also bake the head into the body here, and you can have a different head when they go beefy, but they will use this head when they grow from the Sammy.
And for people wondering what the 6 beefy frame looks like, there's another question just now, how to know what piece of the template applies to the frames you see in game. There will be a like tester in the editor, so you'll be able, as you save your design, to see how it looks. But also, this right here is what the beefy form looks like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, people always ask about, like, what is this thing? And, yeah, it's the, you know, you have, this is where the head connects, and this is, like, the leg, and this is the other leg. And then, of course, the arms connect here, right?
Beefy being needed.
Yeah. And so when you're drawing the beefy arms, you might see, you know, how they're used, and you might want to apply what we learned today on let's say we want the hand here. Remember, and we remembered how to draw our hands before, right? So then we have a hand here, and then now there. Now you wouldn't draw this in the template, but I'm just saying, like, so you can understand what we're even looking at. There.
Visual aids in learning.
Yeah. And then wow, I'm like picturing him.
The alien did nothing wrong, says chat. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? The alien is a really good example of one of the things I was talking about earlier. I should do it. I don't know why I'm thinking of him as like holding onto like a swing the wrong way, but I am. Okay, so one thing, right? We have our alien, and maybe I should use my tracing paper for this. Okay. There's our guy we love.
I know that face.
Okay. Now, we'll do this too, because that's fun. Okay, so I have the antenna connecting here, near the back of the head, and I'm imagining it here again. And we have this, right? But one of the things we can do is, and I guess more of like an Eastern design, because I'm more of like a Western design kind of guy. You can have, let's try to get close to what we had before, just so it's not too far off. The mouth line is closer to the eye here, and the mouth is drawn a little differently, but let's not get lost in that, because what I'm trying to show you here is, instead of our antenna connecting towards the back of the head, we could have the antenna like at the front and shorter. Now all of a sudden we have like a much goofier kind of alien, at least from what we know and love, right? So like where you connect things also matters. You know, look at that. That's a totally different thing. So whenever you're adding features, think about them a lot. Think about what are they telling you, right? Like if I see something like this, I think of like a bug that needs to use these as like feelers, and this one's more of like some sort of balance or communication or something more along the lines of, you know, something more cute that isn't as in a way, I guess like maybe they should have been like this, because this is more of like like a killer kind of thing. But
What's his
this
story?
is just how he is. So just think about like how you're connecting stuff like that. I like the tracing paper thing's fun, because I can take one shape and just keep showing people like different ways to remix the shape, because that's where we're coming from. And then what a lot of artists will tell you again is the contour thing. So they'll tell you to like think of this and think of like lines going across this in a 3D space, right? So like we have like a line like that, and if we get up farther here, it's a line like this and a line like this. And they want you to think of like contour. If you think of things like this, sometimes when you're going to be putting a feature down, you might, like, let's say this is like the eye. You might be thinking about how the eye lands on here rather than just simply drawing an eye, right? And so if you're thinking about things with contour, it's easier. Just like if you're, you know, we do that flag technique, sort of, and then we, let's say, kind of apply it here. Now we've got like this crazy little thing that we pulled off with like an octopus. Because we're thinking of the contour, we're thinking of how this all fits together, right? I always like to do this. There he is again. Now you got like a really weird dog. We'll take the dog for a walk. So yeah, just, you know, it's all about just playing with the shapes. Just go crazy. I'm doing these things quick. You're like, how's he doing that? I see that in the chat sometimes. I'm literally just putting the shape down and playing around with the shape, and just a lot of practice with that is where that comes in, right? You have the shape, and we can say like, well, what is this? Are we gonna make this the torso? Are we gonna make this the head? Right?
Someone said dogtopus.
Yes.
That's perfect.
That's perfect. I like that. There's my other guy I like drawing. And then maybe, you know, like we have this, but we want him in 3D. So we take what we have here and we think of it in 3D. Now we think of like the head is like coming down like this. Now you have 3D, and then you put the body on. And of course, we want to have the, yeah, we want to have like, well, where's his hands? Like maybe we're gonna do the hand thing like we said earlier, or it's like, now he's like, how can I hold all this power? Right? And then now we think of like, well, how does this connect? Here's the shoulder. I'm thinking of it like, oh, this is a little hard because we got to think of this in 3D, but there, look. Now you can have like somebody shrugging. It's hard to pull off, isn't it? But then if you think of the little waves, you think of that little half thing, and then you do your wave again, and then you think of this connecting to it. Now you got him like, huh? How did you do that so fast? You saw it right there. All you gotta do is practice this a little bit and you'll have it down too. It's just a little bit of practice.
Now I'm inspired to go draw hands.
Yeah, hands are fun. We can cover other stuff too at some point. And then, you know, just play around with it, with features, play around with shapes, slap stuff together until, you know, you end up with a baseline that you really like. That's all there is to it. You can do it. All you gotta do is just keep on it.
There've been a few
Portrait drawings.
Yes.
Now that's something I don't normally do. I'll have to look into that. If I come back again, I'll try to show a little bit of that. Because I'm just really thinking about what angle I'm looking at it. But again, same thing as like if you're drawing ahead, people will say like check like where's the eye line. You see people do this because then, because they're drawing the necromancer or whatever. And then it's just practicing each feature that shows up on there, right? It isn't. To me, it's not that different. It's just that you're applying like a different rendering technique at the end. To me, it all sort of comes back to the same stuff, and that's why you'll always see a lot of tutorials. They always tell you just think of it as shapes and think of where things land. It really is the same kind of thing. And then look, we have two sides of the coin. I do it again, but this time I flip it.
Fabio says, "You're teaching me more than my art teacher."
Oh no. Well, I'm thankful for that. I'm not sure what else to say about that. So look, we've got this shape flipped around. What?
Look at that emotion.
How can this be? Yeah. So, all right, what else can we do here? I don't know.
Everyone wants to see Hattie.
Hattie is the the ultimate in shapes. What's kind of cool is with this thing, I don't think we have this available anymore. But it allowed you to see like how does this all connect?
It's a cosplay guide essentially.
Yeah. But you gotta think, you gotta think a little bit in terms of like where's your perspective, and you'll see people like draw like a box and try to think. I don't know. I feel like those help, but for things that are simple like this, I feel like it's not necessary. But sometimes there's guys that draw like those crazy mechs or cars or whatever, and then they show you how they did it, and it ends up looking. It ends up like they have like this thing like this, like here's how I think of it, guys, and then they draw like this whole thing, and then they have a grid like this, and by the end of it, like I can't even tell what I'm looking at because they do like this whole thing or whatever, and then I'm like, man, what? And then they're like, so when you're drawing this, you gotta like think of like that they have like all these angles and like degrees.
That's how I was taught to draw.
I can't do this.
I can't
do
either.
that. It doesn't make sense to me. It makes a lot more sense for me to just say, you know what, this is leaning.
Yeah, that was how my college taught.
Yeah,
and I just couldn't.
It's important, like when you're drawing, to think about what you learn from, like, because I don't learn that way. So try learning a couple ways and see which sticks, because some people are visual learners that like if they just watch me slap down lines, they'll be able to slap lines down. Other people need to just have like a very very deliberate and like technical way to see it, like what I just showed there. I can't do it. I can't do it. But like getting here's the longest time when I would try to do something like this, I would look at the outsides and try to do the outsides. So I'd be like, okay, so, and then I go like this and then like that, and then by the time you like finish it, it's completely like this isn't right. Right now he's like goofy. It's completely out of whack.
Through the washing machine.
Because you're just looking at this one thing instead of the whole shape, right? You want to be thinking of like the most basic shapes you can come down to, like this, right? You want to just think of it like that, because then you can fill the details in over top. And I think that's the real trick. But remember, like, that's the kind of funny thing about like this guy. Let me take one out and I'm gonna plagiarize. Let's plagiarize, everyone.
Not the koala.
Yeah.
Drawing a crescent moon from a front-facing angle has to be the hardest shape I've drawn. That sounds difficult.
That does sound difficult. So we have like this, right? It's a really good drawing that this person did.
Happy
That's
little
incredibly detailed. Okay. And then like last time, I totally messed it up, and I did like.
It's because
did,
we were
like-
talking about the goat pupils being sideways.
Yeah, I got totally. Well, I mean, I still liked the drawing. Like, it's still fine, but you know, like fundamentally, it probably drove some people crazy. But like, you know, if you have the nose like this versus that, you know, you're gonna get a totally different like vibe out of it just by rotating the nose. So you might want to try that. Like, take something off of a magazine or whatever that you see, and then just try to remix. Like, what would you do to change it? And then, like, let's say instead of a nose, we think of that as the mouth. Because remember, we're just playing with shapes. So the nose became the mouth just now, and now this thing's feral. Now we gotta call somebody, and instead of like keeping the hair like, you know, now we have the feral koala, and it doesn't even have a nose. Or let's give it like a lizard or whatever nose, right? Now we have that from the right. So you can just, you know, see what you can change about something if you're not sure what you want to draw. Like, just change things. And then like, oh, it's a shame that tracing paper is not even larger. Maybe next time I'll get enormous tracing paper. But like, instead of a tree, let's think of this as like it's the
Radioactive barrel.
oh.
His face. I love it.
Right? Now he's like riding on something that's also enraged, and we have like double trouble. There it is. So he's not holding onto a tree anymore. He's holding on to his buddy. It's like if anyone ever saw E.T., he doesn't want them to take it away. E.T.'s very old, though. I almost don't expect anyone to know what E.T. is anymore at this point. It's almost kind of weird.
Whenever I hear E.T., I think of the Atari game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played that when it was new. I played that game, and I thought I was horrible at video games when I played it. So you would, like, the thing that was crazy about it, there'd be, like, the edge of the screen, like, so your character would be, like, right here, and you'd go off the screen. And then as soon as it, like, flipped to the next screen, your character was here, and there was a pit. And you would just instantly die. And I'm like, I'm so bad at this game. But, like, I had zero control. I just said I wanted to go to the next screen. And then it would drop me down the pit
Into
and I'd
the
die.
pit.
And I was like, how am I so bad? Oh, man. And that's the thing. The same thing with drawing. Don't get in your head like that. Don't be like, oh, I'm so bad. Everybody, man, you know how many times I tell somebody to draw and they go, I'm so bad. Well, how do you think you get unbad?
Just do it.
Yeah, just keep trying, you know, like, just like anything. If you want to be good at your battle royale, you play your battle royale all the time. If you want to, I knocked something off the table again, it's fine. If you want to be good at drawing, you just keep drawing. And then all of a sudden, winner, winner, chicken dinner. There we are. Well, I've gone through a lot of things. Maybe I'll take a couple requests or something really quick, and then maybe we'll call it. E.T. gave me nightmares. Well, there's worse things from that era. Yeah, someone says that
puppet.
game almost killed the market. Yeah, on some level it almost did.
Yeah.
It almost did. Because E.T. was, like, enormous, right? E.T. was, like, Marvel.
Hi, Silent Mr. Dave. Welcome to the stream. This is the Dan Paladin drawing Castle
Corn
Crashers.
boss, someone says. Let me get out my...
Corn boss. I got... Where's my drive-by corn boss on the screen? Dang. Guess we'll just have to do the barbarian slam instead. There he goes. Someone wants gluten being hugged by the knights. That sounds adorable.
Adorable. I've already started on my corn man, and I'm going to double check one more time. One thing you guys want to use is reference. Even if it's your own stuff, use reference.
Consistency.
Yeah. So like you'll see his face. Okay. We got his face. Which are going to be, we're going to look at the stuff that matters the most, which is around the eyes, right? So you have like these big circles, which are then cut short because he's had enough of everyone's trouble.
He always looked tired.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other thing that's really important here are the tops of the eyes, which is another weird like kind of shape, and it's like a wing, kind of like that, right? And then there's like this one, well, that one's not as important, but there's kind of like this, it's almost like part of the brow, and it's a kernel. And then the eyes get kind of fancy, and I'm trying to think how I would do this in pen, but basically we've got this kind of thing going on. And without colored pencil, this is a little difficult because he has 4 kind of lighter colors here, and then everything else is kind of like a darker shape. This is quite a difficult thing to figure out in pen. Sometimes there's things in pen that you just can't. You might want to think about how to communicate it differently. But I think this might work. It might not, but we're gonna see. So yeah, that's going pretty good. That's not bad. And then of course we have the lip, and he's chewing on some crops. Right? And then really it's like hyper everything I've been telling you. I'm thinking about all the shapes that come out of it. And it's a little tough because you kind of want to start from the center because everything's tucked behind the other kernels. So you have to kind of work out. But because we laid down this base shape for his entire body, it makes it so much easier to work with. If you tried to just draw these kernels and get it down right, it'd be so much harder and probably just not where you want it to be. Then, if you had a guide. And when you draw digitally, this is useful. I don't normally tend to do this, but there are times that I have done it with, for instance, the barbarian boss. And then here's where it gets weird again, because there's all these kernels around here on his face. But really, these are the ones that are in front from the bottom up. So we're going to work from the bottom up because we basically don't have any other choice. And then we do that little flag technique I showed you guys for the leaves. Right? You can even just get a little more playful with it.
We have a pretty important question, actually.
Okay.
Someone's asking how the workshop will work with multiplayer. If the host owns the DLC and other people joining don't, they'll be able to use any characters that the host has enabled. So you'll be like kind of picking from their pool.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, you do not need the DLC to try it. You can join other people. So if you're on the fence about it, or for whatever reason, just go ahead and join other people's games, and you can see the fresh art and decide whether or not it's right for you.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. You can piggyback off all the people, and then when you finally say, you know what, I want the fresh art, I want to make my own character, I'm ready because I've been practicing drawing hands all day. Well, then now you're ready, and you're right, because you're ready when you feel ready. The other thing that makes this guy really imposing right now, he's kind of whatever, is he has these Disney villain collar type things going on here, where his leaves show his rage. Get out of my cornfield,
villain suit.
he's thinking. And then just like before, I see this, there's some things I don't like about it, so I'll make some changes, right? I want to have a little more darkness in the lower parts of the eyes, maybe a little more to the pupil. Right. And then, well, some of this isn't selling me on the silhouette because I'm getting lost in all these collared, flared rage things. Well, now we can thicken up the lines. You'll see stuff like this a lot in like maybe graffiti. Actually, people put a really thick line around the edges of the lettering and stuff, and that's always really kind of neat looking. And they do that to sell the shape to you on glance. So as soon as you see this, like this part of the eye or in this part of the body, right? Now we're getting, it's more clear to us again. You can also do this with color instead of thickness. So what you could do is say, I'm going to have dark colors on the outside of the character, and then all of these on the inside are a lighter color.
I like doing that.
And then that way you indicate the same kind of thing. And it's how do you want to guide the eye. So one thing you might want to do is like, so what I did here is I drew him. I took a step back and I said, okay, where's my eye going? And at first my eye was going all over the place because there's so many lines everywhere, right? And I needed my eye to see some of these as like softer and some of these as harder lines. And that way it's more pleasing to our eye. Hopefully you guys can see the difference while I'm doing this on,
I zoomed in a little bit. We got visuals.
Yeah. So hopefully that helps. And then of course you can do things like shade and all that. Like if you want to shade, just remember what we were doing earlier. And I don't even know if this is going to work on tracing paper, but remember how we did the smoke earlier, guys? Same kind of thing. Like think about where your light source is. Stay consistent. Think about how things in front of it or behind it might affect it. You can even have rim lighting here on the other side. Well, not rim lighting, bounce lighting. You know, like when you turn on certain effects on your 3D games, they have like the global illumination that's bouncing some light. So don't fill it in completely. Maybe you get a little bit of bounced light. Right. And another thing I like to do, if you're trying to make a character look evil or ominous, or like they're in a dark space in their mind, you can always darken like around the face. Like this is, you know, you'd fill it in more cleanly, but I'm just trying to give you the idea that once all of a sudden around his face is dark, He looks like he really wants you out of this cornfield now, you know? And then you can, once you've done that, you can resume normalcy.
Live corn boss ray tracing, says Chad.
Yeah, RTX on. See? Hopefully that's making sense. And then, like, you know, I'm thinking the light. I always think about, like, where's the light coming from? And I'm thinking the light is, like, coming from over here. It's just a stage light, so it has these.
What is that type of marker called?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. It's Mark Plus, and I believe it's a Japanese brand. I picked it up randomly, and I'm trying to remember where. Just if you look up illustration markers on Amazon, or you go to your art supplies store, they have like illustration markers.
Oh, we got a poll going for top Castle Crasher OG Knight. Who's your favorite base Castle Crashers Knight? Green and blue are tied right now.
Are they? Green and blue. Who's gonna make it?
Red Knight in third and Orange Knight in fourth. Why no Orange Knight love?
It's Charles, using the same shape as the corn boss. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
See? Same shape. Different outcome. You can do anything with a shape. Just practice that. Try to just build off one shape for a whole day. As long as you're making progress. Try that. Because here, let's do it again. Do it. Nothing's stopping you.
Blue Knight pulling into the lead at 31% of votes.
Yeah, you know what? What would the Knights look like if they had this shape head?
What was that TV show? Was it really just Coneheads?
Yeah.
Okay. So
it
that was just
was.
the title? Always scared me. They looked so shiny. Dan, can you do a full page mural?
There it is.
Oh, that's...
It's weird. It's like uncanny.
He looks like... I don't know. Like a loaf of
wrong.
artisan bread.
Yeah.
Somehow. I don't know.
Bread Knight. I was going to do a pun, but like it has to be a spelled pun. I was going to say Bread Knight, we need you. Like KNEAD. But it doesn't work.
It's time to
when
rise
you say it
to
out
the
loud.
occasion.
Exactly. The upper crust of the Knights. Who ate my ostrich egg? That's right. I made my shield with a sad face. That's great. And you know what? Sometimes I see people using they make the shield like a hand, or they make it like, you know, like everybody's doing really interesting things. The shield is such a fun addition. If you remember, the alien has a grenade as their shield. Like, just try to add some humor in to, you know, like when you're making something like that. Yeah, and like if you want a piece of bread and you're thinking of it like this shape.
Silent Mr. Dave said, it's the yeast you could do.
It is the yeast I
Drop
could
Red
have
Knight.
done. Now we have Breadhead. There. And we could have made it where you know, like how they have like the twisty tie. And then let's do that trick, guys. Remember that trick? The flag? Done. Now you got the twisty tie on top. We keep using the same tricks. That's the thing.
The scribbly
Once
trick?
No, like the little wavy thing.
Oh.
You follow the line. So like if say you want to draw like this is a trash bag, and then you have something like that. You follow it all down to that point of wherever it's going to, and now you have this. So
Black
instead of having to
magic.
trying to figure out all these little things, you can just do the little wavy line and follow it down, and boom, now you have like this. There it is. It's the Scarecrow Man. It was really Scarecrow Man this whole time.
Why does he look so sourdough? Silent Mr. Dave.
That's good. Nice. There he is. I want Scarecrow Man. Someone bring me Scarecrow Man.
Scarecrow Man, day 1 of the workshop. Somebody out there can do it.
Yeah.
Now people are calling for Egg Night.
Exactly. See, there's so many things we can do with this shape. What is going on with this? This is crazy. Right?
Wow.
So
We did a lot.
Yeah, so there's just play with it. Have fun with it. Pooping deer jump scare. I didn't see the pooping deer.
There it goes again.
Oh, you did the pooping. I thought it was a drawing. I did it without realizing it. Yeah. I think this is pretty good for now, guys. We're gonna take some more analyzing of the requests later and see what you guys want to draw. Remember, we were drawing hands. For anybody who missed it, the hands was the big one today. You do these things right here, these little waves. You draw the half for the thumb. You do another wave, and then you flare it all out with another wave underneath. And now you have a hand. Okay, guys? This was the big one today.
Remember your hand training. You
That's
can
right.
draw them.
Yeah. Also, if you have better grip strength, you'll be more alert, you'll be healthier throughout your whole life. So go and get something and hold on to it for 1 minute. Hold on to a heavy thing for 1 minute, and you'll be stronger. And then when you go to draw, you'll have even more confident lines. Your grip strength is going to play into all this if you're doing it like this. But with digital, you don't have to worry as much. With digital, it's okay. Whatever.
Blue
It'll be
Knight
fine.
won the poll.
Blue Knight wins.
Only by 1% over Red and Green Knight. 5% over Orange Knight. Man.
Don't forget the feral koala. We saw him here today. There he is. Get your tracing paper and start trying different things, because what I've realized, and I've never used tracing paper before today, what I realized is that when you use this, you're more confident because you already think of this as like a whatever piece of paper, just an idea, and because you're already mentally there thinking of it as an idea, you're more okay with just screwing it up and playing around with something. So lay down a base shape or take something off a magazine and then just play with it on top, and then just toss it out, play with it again. Learn what things work for you. Play to your strengths. If I tried to draw cars and mechs, I wouldn't be on the stream today. I think it wouldn't have worked out for me. So just look at what are my strengths. Follow your strengths. Don't try to be something you're not with art. You know, we can always, I appreciate certain kinds of art I just can't pull off. Okay, guys? Don't compare yourself to anybody else. You're trying to get better for yourself. You're going to make the world a better place. You're going to make Painter Boss Paradise have more cool characters to pick from. Okay? We're going to do a good job. We're going to do a good job.
5 days.
I believe in you.
5 days. August 6th. It's right there all over the screen along with the price.
August 6th. We'll get you the time later. don't worry. I know that some of you guys want to know right when it drops, and we'll try to figure out a chart or something. So check our socials. Make sure you wish list stuff just in case you forget. Oh my gosh, it's today. If you wish list, you'll get a little notification in your email.
Yep.
And then it won't be so bad.
And you'll be ready day one.
Also, one other trick in case anybody didn't see it today. If you have your character and you want them to do something and you want to have their hands posed a certain way, draw where you want the hands first, okay? And then follow it through with the other shapes. That way, you don't have to worry about where you're coming from out here. Just draw the hands first and then follow through with the arms. There you go, everybody. We learned a few tricks today. We're the best around. No one's ever going to keep us down.
That's
Painter
right.
Boss Paradise, I cannot wait to play as you guys' stuff. It's going to be
August
so
6th.
much fun. August 6th, $3.99 if you're in the States. And you can make your own characters. You can download other people's characters. You don't need the DLC to try it out as long as you join a host who is trying it out. All of the playable characters are redrawn. That means all the enemies that you can unlock are redrawn. There's new menu art. There's some other art that no one's even seen that's redone. And there's something in there that you make sure you play through the game. You might see something new.
Yep.
Yeah, you might see something in there.
5 days, August 6th. We will see you guys
5 days.
there.
Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yo, 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 yo.